Hamas is ISIS, potentially even worse, given some of the first-hand accounts that are coming out of the Middle East. Some of it impossible to comprehend. Maybe easier for those who have dealt with terrorists like this. Former Australian Special Forces Commander Weston Hennessey joins me now. Wes, thank you so much for your time. You've done 7 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. How would you describe the kind of terrorists that Israel is confronting now in the Middle East?
They're a formidable terrorist. The issue with a lot of the terrorist organisations, and what's very hard for Australians and other persons around the world for that matter to comprehend and understand, is we overlay a rational thought process or a rational mindset over the terrorist's mindset. Now, the terrorism mindset is to terrorise. Now, that mindset is extremely irrational, and we've seen that demonstrated a couple of weeks ago, again, very sadly, with the attack on Israel.
How do you tackle someone that it's almost impossible to understand? As you say, they don't think like we do. They don't feel empathy. They don't see other people's pain and feel sick like we would. How do you fight that?
Good question. The sad reality is they understand brute force. They understand extreme violence. And that is almost all that they understand. They're obsessed with an ideology, which again is extremely hard for us to understand. So with the extremist component of some of the religions, it causes them to think this way and believe what they believe in, which is having this worldwide jihad against the West. And we must make that point. This is against the West. It's not against Israel. It was directly, I should say, sorry. But it is certainly an attack on the West as per all of their attacks. And we've seen that and how quickly it's bubbled over. But in regards to combating them and trying to understand them, all we can do is study as much and gain as much information and intelligence through all our different agencies and assets to understand what the current motives are every time a particular terrorist organisation strikes. And in this particular case, what I haven't heard commented on, or commentated on much is what we should be analysing the most in the earlier period, as in now and in the last week or so, is Hamas knew what Israel's reaction would be.
Yes, correct.
So sometimes it's not the action, it's the reaction. So they knew what the reaction would be. So they did the action, not for the reasons I don't believe that we're commonly reporting that why they did those horrific acts that they did, but they did it for the reaction. Israel was always going to react this way. Now, look, if we go back to approximately a week ago, and then we look where we are now of how many other countries are suffering extremist groups who are creating a lot of violence in their cities. We've seen some horrific episodes here in Australia. The French have deployed, I think, 6,500 troops across their streets. That's military troops. We've seen horrific scenes through the UK and then all through Middle Eastern countries as well, where a lot of the Western embassies have told their personnel to get out of those countries ASAP. President Biden today issued a worldwide warning for any American to be vigilant. So this is the reaction that I believe the action was for, to stir up the hornet's nest, for want of a better term, and we're witnessing that right now in every single country basically in the world.
So given Israel is saying it will follow the rules of war, you know what it's like, and 99.99% of our soldiers as well, taking on these evil beings, having to follow rules when they don't recognise nor follow any. It's
very, very difficult. Nobody, and I certainly don't, so I support Israel's attack, but I don't support the blatant killing of civilians. We've got to look at Gaza. We've got just short of 2.1. It's be over that now. I think that was a 2020 consensus. But in 365 square kilometres, we've got 2.2 plus million people. Also to note, it's a highly density population. So most of the buildings there are high density. Now, to conduct the attacks of the scale that they are and have done and will continue to do that in a high density population like that, they know there is going to be civcas, being civilian casualties, and other collateral damage that's not intended, but it is a risk of them going on the offensive, such an aggressive offensive as they have done. And unfortunately, this is a matter, a fact of war. We have not waged a war since, day dot in this world where civilians haven't been a casualty of war. Now, I'm not, again, I emphasise, I'm not condoning it. I'm saying it's a reality of warfare. And in this particular, strip, being the Gaza Strip, it's very much accentuated because it's such high density. Like I said, 365 square kilometres, 2.2 million people.
Yep.
Like,
and Hamas
a lot
have shown,
of people are going to unnecessarily die.
Yep, time and time again that they are willing to use their own people as human shields. It is heartbreaking, the whole thing. Wes, thank you so much for your expertise and your time.
My pleasure, Erin. Thank you.